Hi there, welcome to John's Workshop. This is part 5 of my Lamborghini Countach build. So last time got the seats in, and now we're going to continue. Okay, looks like I got everything sorted here, so let's get started. So here we are. Now let's continue with this next part, and as well as the discussion about a little more about agents. So I mentioned talked about agents before and how they're like the AI companies are really trying to sell everyone on agents. And the reason is that agents are actually really useful. That goes there. Now, if you have not used agent mode, and you are of the persuasion that AI is like all this talk about it not taking people's jobs and whatnot is ridiculous and whatnot, you don't really know what you're talking about yet. So you have to use an agent mode until you use it and see what it does, even with basic things. Just to get an idea, you don't really understand where a lot of these people are coming at, why they're saying this idea that it's going to take everyone's job. If the idea is that agents will be built to do your job. Now, if you use the agent mode it essentially allows you to ask the AI to do something on your behalf. It can actually write the code right into your project. You don't have to do it. You tell it to do something, it can just go ahead and start creating the files and writing the code right into your project. Depending on what level of trust you want to give to it, you can have to approve everything before it will write anything every time if you want. But once you start using it, you realize that you don't really need to do that if you're paying attention. Like if you're kind of paying attention to what it's doing, you can probably stop it before it gets carried away on anything that you don't want it doing. It can use the command line to execute commands in your terminal. It can write the code that's in your project into the files. That's the agency it has for that it's able to just write the code right into the files. So it will, instead of just suggesting the code and then you like copying and pasting it, it just puts the code right in there. And it reads the files. It will try to figure out which files in your project it needs to read to understand what is actually happening, so that it knows where to put stuff in your code. So that's kind of what's happening right now, is that you've got a lot of these developers are using this, and it makes a big difference when you can just, explain to an agent what you want it to do, and it can just do it for you. Like there is so much code that is out there that can be written, that people can write, like a developer can write it, but it takes time to write that code. And a lot of times there's things that like might seem like a small, trivial thing to implement actually takes like hundreds of lines of code to run. And what you can have is a AI agent just write it all for you. It can just write it right in. You can if you know what it's supposed to be and you don't need to write it, you can just double check and make sure what it actually put in there is what you want it to have put in there. But if there's common kind of functionality that you use on a regular basis, there's no reason to be spending all your time writing that kind of boilerplate code. So yeah, why be writing boilerplate code when you could be just getting into the meat of your project, the actual core functionality you're trying to build and make work? You could be doing that instead of spending time writing getters and setters and whatnot, or hitting tab a million times to get those getters and setters in. Like, that's what you could be doing. Now, what also has kind of reemerged as a thing that is helpful to do with these agents is actually like basic base software engineering skills of defining your actual, your project in writing, right? Actually, like writing out like this is what I want it to do. This is like actually making a plan and giving the agent the actual plan you have for your project, and then it being able to just follow the plan, right? So it's kind of funny hearing some of them say like, oh, you have to do all this, you just get it to write a plan, and then it's like, yeah, you could have kind of been that's the kind of thing you should always be doing with software engineering, is you should be writing a plan. But clearly that was not a priority for some time. So now, to get the AI agents to accurately do something, you want to give it a plan. Give it a good plan. It will create pretty accurate code for you. And it's not, some people are like, oh, it's all garbage. It's like, it's not all garbage. Man, you gotta, having that attitude is like, well, that's like assuming that it just writes, it's making all mistakes. It's not making all mistakes. This comes back to the accuracy of the data. The accuracy of data, along with a lot of programming language, is very, very well documented, like how to use them, what these things you're supposed to use. As long as you can feed in the good documentation for it to use, it will do it accurately. It will build things that you tell it to build accurately. And you can further use it to check, double check different things to make sure you're not leaving big security holes. Depending on if you switch between, like, this is where a lot of developers they're switching between different LLMs to kind of get cross-referencing. They're cross-referencing with different agents to ensure that what they're producing is good, right? It's not just, I have to put one of these over there. It's very interesting seeing, like, this is the kind of thing that's the same stuff. This is all kind of the old same things are coming out of this, is like pair programming and, planning, documenting what your code. Pseudocode is like doing a bunch of pseudocode to define your plan before you get the agent to do it, right? All these ideas that have been around in software engineering for ages are rising back to the top of things you need to do to make effective use of an AI agent. And that's something that a lot of people that are just, if you're trying to get into something like CompSci, that's what CompSci is good for. I mean, CompSci, that's what you learn in CompSci. You learn that kind of stuff. For the planning and development of software, right? It's a lot more of the theoretical stuff you learn is actually now quite useful to know these things when you're dealing with agents. because if you actually apply those, execute on those, right, yeah, if you actually use those tools that way, you can spend a lot less time, and money as well, because these agents they're not cheap. Like I said last time, they're in the $200 a month range for unlimited use, or you need to tone it down, maybe not use too much of it at any one time. But that's, oops. So there's going to be, I don't think there's going to be like a lack of jobs. I really just don't think that these agents are going to put as many people out of jobs as some people think. There may be a period of time where there's a bit of upheaval. One of the issues is the creative industry and how they have stolen a lot of that, ideas around how should I say this? They've stolen a lot of the ideas around what goes on. Yeah, I did miss that. People who draw, people who make videos and whatnot, pictures. But a lot of those people weren't really making a whole lot of money anyway. Unless you were quite an accomplished artist, you probably weren't making a ton of money from your art anyway. The AI companies maybe stole your images and are feeding them in, and that's it's not fair. It's not morally good to have done that, but chances are you weren't making a whole lot of money anyway, and it sucks. But if push came to shove for someone trying to buy that stuff from you, they would just not use it, right? That's chances are they just wouldn't use it. Because if they're forced to pay, as soon as a lot of people are forced to pay for stuff like that, when they're not sure they're really going to get any value out of it, they just won't use it. That's the biggest problem with art, I think, is that you don't really know if it's going to be of any value to you. So you could buy something, I need this picture to do this, and then you find out, well, I'm not actually going to end up using that, but you already paid for it, so now it does kind of sucks for you. So a lot of people don't want to make that commitment to paying for art that there's a good chance they just won't use. On the other hand, there are people that are more than willing to pay artists for things that they will use. There's a lot of that out there, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any art around. But the people that are going to be using it in some of these models probably aren't really. It's fun and interesting to use it in the model, to use it from the AI tool, but it might not be. So that's been part 5 of my Lamborghini Countach build. Got these doors on. They're opening up here nicely. Works pretty good. I see they're hooked up to that rubber band piece there. And as well as I talked more about agents and how they are actually becoming super powerful for certain tasks that are well defined, like development or software development. But they are going to be, there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be needed to make them for other things. Anyway, if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.